Okay, so I promise to keep bringing updates about what police or investigators have uncovered so far about the death of Fahim Saleh. Who is responsible for his death, who killed him, who dismembered his body, who followed him, the masked man that followed him into the elevator that led to his apartment. Who is he? Oh, the police has always suspected that whoever it is that followed him into that elevator was the one who killed him. And we've been waiting so patiently to see what investigations will come up with. And luckily, we have a suspect. The suspect is 21-year-old Tyrese Devon Haspil, who has been working with Fahim since he was 16 as a personal assistant. A lot of reports tag him as ex-personal assistant, meaning that his current status with Fahim Saleh could be that of ex-employee. We don't know very much about this, but what we know is that Fahim Saleh had discovered somewhere along the line that Tyrese has been stealing from him. In fact, he discovered that Tyrese has stolen up to $100,000 from him. And instead of reporting Tyrese to the police or appropriate authorities, he had decided to make a repayment plan for Tyrese. The intention was to get Tyrese to pay back this money within a reasonable period of time. And guess what? This is supposed to be something like a goodwill gesture. You know, most people who discover stuff like this would have reported you to the police. I think that's the right thing to do, by the way, to report a thief to the authorities so that they have it documented and it's on record what's happening and who is involved, just in case. But this guy, Fahim, decided to make arrangements with Tyrese so they can formulate a repayment plan such that after a period of time, Tyrese would have been able to clear up this money and remain in good standing. His name is not stained before any other person. His name is not stained in the community, and his name is not stained with the law enforcement agents. But guess what? Fahim's kindness turned out to be his weakness, because instead of stick to the repayment plan, try his best to pay back, Tyrese thought of other ways to get rid of his debts. Getting rid of his debts meant getting rid of Fahim. In his mind, he might have thought, if I get rid of Fahim, then I've gotten rid of my debt. So instead of working towards repaying $100,000 which he has stolen from his boss Fahim, he thought of killing his boss. So he was the one who followed Fahim into the elevator. He had covered himself up, hoping that Fahim wouldn't discover his identity. And once Fahim opened his apartment, he followed and stabbed him on the neck and on the torso, which led to the death of Fahim. The next day, he had returned to dispose of the body of Fahim so as to clear every evidence of what happened to Fahim. It was while he was trying to do this that one of Fahim's cousins visited, according to reports. And when he noticed that this cousin was coming in, he escaped. Hence, we found different body parts in different rooms of the apartment, while we didn't see the perpetrator at the time. So, there are a lot of lessons to learn from this. The first is that trust is very expensive. How would Fahim had known that someone he had kept close to him for how many years, since the age of 16? At the age of 16, it would have been presumed that Tyrese was an innocent boy. At the age of 16, you would expect that a boy still has good moral consciousness. And you've been working with this guy, hoping that his association with you has shaped him and is making him more reasonable and more responsible. And it turns out to be that by 81, he exhibits a beast behavior, something you didn't plant in him. And then he exhibits it, it ends up taking your own life. And for those of you who find it very easy to trust people, I think you have to be very careful, because we're in the kind of world where a lot of things can go wrong. If you make the mistake of giving too much trust over to somebody, be sure that a lot of things can go wrong. I hope it doesn't affect any other person's life. I hope it doesn't affect your life the way it affected that of Fahim. Another lesson we could learn from this is that Fahim had the option of reporting the fact that his personal assistant has been stealing from him. He had an option of reporting it to the appropriate authorities. If he had reported it to the appropriate authorities might have decided on how to go about this case. Let's say he reported this guy to the authorities, and then he's sent to a correctional facility or something like that. There are good chances that he will come out a better person. There are good chances that the programs he will undergo in the correctional facilities will make him into a better person. But Fahim decided to hide it. Yes, probably because of the soft part of him. He didn't want this guy to suffer the consequences of his actions so much, and that was why he didn't report this guy to the authorities. Now see what has happened. His own very act of kindness, that very act of softness towards this guy, is what gave this guy, Tyrese, the 21-year-old Tyrese, the opportunity to plan such a devilish act against Fahim. So I think you will agree with me that if Fahim has to come back again, if Fahim should have a second chance, he would not make this mistake again. Fahim would have raised alarm. Fahim would have alerted the authorities. But guess what? It's too late now. If the kindness you have shown another person can be used against you, then what's the point of showing kindness? Yes, I know that everybody, everybody promotes the idea of being kind to one another, being kind to somebody, being able to forgive so easily. But look at it. What's the point of Fahim forgiving this guy if this guy doesn't know the value of forgiveness? If this guy doesn't know the value of being given a second chance, then what's the point? I think it has come to the time, it has come to a point where all of us have to be very responsible for our own security. If you notice something irregular about someone who you trust, who is close to you, you should straight up, like if it's an employee, if it's somebody you have employed in your business, you should not think twice about sending them very, very far away from you. Yes, if they continue to do mischief in the business place and never takes correction, or if you notice that they have a very questionable character, one that can be potentially dangerous, if they don't think twice before inflicting harm on your business, then you should keep them very, very far from you. Because the people who are greedy, people who do not have any conscience, can come up with just about the kind of thing that Tyrese came up with, to cover up the mess they have created in the whole place, or to go undiscovered, or to escape a crime they have committed in your business. You should send them very, very far away. It doesn't matter who they are. In fact, sometimes they could be your relations, they could be your brother. If you find out that they have very irregular characters that are consistently shady and capable of putting both you and your business in danger, send them out of that place. Send them out. Take every responsibility you've given to them away from them. Like, send them out. You can't afford to keep staying together with green snakes in green grass. Do you understand? So we have to be wise. The world has changed into something else. We have to be really, really wise.